For the last 50 years, European security has relied on a single, unspoken guarantee that if the absolute worst happens, the United States will use its nuclear arsenal to protect the continent. This map shows the backbone of that agreement. Under the NATO nuclear sharing deal, Washington placed its own weapons across 5 key European nations: Belgium, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Turkey. The deal was straightforward. The U.S. maintained custody, but promised to deploy them if an allied country was attacked. Over the last few years, however, former U.S. leadership began openly questioning that guarantee, complaining that the alliance was entirely one-sided and expressing frustration that America was bearing the cost of protection alone. At the same time, Washington has actively begun shifting its military resources away from the Atlantic, reallocating its focus toward the Indo-Pacific to counter rising threats there. For European capitals, the math has suddenly changed. The realization is setting in that the American military guarantee they've built their entire survival strategy around might now be completely hollow. That realization is triggering immediate, drastic reactions from countries you wouldn't expect to be preparing for war. Take Norway. The wealthy, historically peaceful Scandinavian country has decided to officially step out from underneath the fading American security umbrella. Instead, they are placing their national survival in the hands of a new protector, France. A country of 5.5 million people choosing to swap its primary security partner signals a significant departure from the post-war consensus that has held for decades. So why is Oslo making this dramatic pivot right now? It comes down to geography. Norway shares a direct 200-kilometer land border with Russia up north. This map illustrates the stark reality. A massive concentration of Russian military assets sits on the doorstep of an undefended Norwegian frontier. The mismatch becomes more severe comparing populations. A tiny fraction of Norway's 5.5 million citizens join the military, leaving them unequipped for war. If a hostile force decided to cross that border, waiting for a distracted American Congress to authorize a rescue mission would mean losing the country. French President Emmanuel Macron saw this panic spreading, positioning France as the only logical alternative. France is the only nation left in the European Union with its own independent nuclear arsenal. With France's permanent veto-wielding seat on the UN Security Council, Paris holds a level of diplomatic and military weight no other EU member can match. But nations do not extend their nuclear deterrence out of the goodness of their hearts. Paris is expecting a massive return on its investment. The first strategic gain is raw energy. Norway is one of the largest oil exporters in the region. By tying Norway's physical survival to French military assets, Paris effectively secures a permanent, highly favorable pipeline of crude oil. The second gain is total political leverage. If Paris is holding the shield that keeps Europe safe, Paris gets to dictate the terms of European trade, internal defense spending, and foreign policy. France is trading access to its nuclear arsenal for a central seat in Europe's energy and policy decisions, becoming the primary hub for continental power. This map isolates Norway under the French security umbrella, but they are actually the 9th nation to sign on. Expanding the data reveals the true scale of Paris's strategy. Germany, Belgium, Poland, and even the UK have already accepted the French deterrent. The sheer volume of European states opting into this arrangement shows that a quiet, highly effective takeover of the continent's security architecture is already complete. Global powers outside of Europe are already adjusting their strategies to account for France's growing influence over the continent's security. India, for example, placed a massive strategic bet on France years ago. New Delhi has been actively deepening its military ties with Paris, most notably by purchasing fleets of French Rafale fighter jets. That early investment is going to pay heavy dividends. With joint ventures already mapped out in space exploration and future civilian nuclear energy projects, India now has a fast pass to navigate a market completely dominated by French influence. Geopolitics abhors a vacuum. While Washington focuses on the Pacific, France is moving to anchor the next phase of European security.
If you value clarity over chaos, explore more on Clear Lens X.